Hi everybody, what's up? My name is Juan, I am just one reader, and I'm here with my July book haul. Bear with me because this book haul is probably my biggest up to date. I have 28 books to show you, that's right, 28. And I did save one for last that I think is probably my favorite cover, at least my favorite design for a cover that I have seen in a long time. I just love how special and unique this cover is, and just the entire packaging of the book I think is really cool and interesting. So you will have to watch all the video to see which book I'm talking about. All the books in this book haul are really pretty. Some are stunning, but that one in particular I think is just really cool and unique. So without any further ado, let's get started. First, I have David Mitchell. David Mitchell is an author that I have read previously. A couple of weeks ago, I read The Bone Clocks, and it's a book that I liked at the moment, but the more I think of it, the more I love it. It's certainly a book that has grown on me, and I want to read more by this author. So I got two books by David Mitchell. One of them is The Thousand Autumns of Jacob de Zoet. This one is more of a historical fiction, but still has the David Mitch twist. David Mitchell. Why did I say David Mitch? And the other one is Black Swan Green. This is more realistic fiction. And both of these were heavily recommended to me in the video in which I mentioned The Bone Clocks. So thank you if you were the guy who recommended this to me. Now, I also decided to pick up some classics, and I am not really a big classics reader. I don't know why, because when I do read classics, or the classics that I actually end up reading, I really like. Last week I read Giovanni's Room, which is a modern classic, and I loved it. So I figured, man, you gotta read more classics, dude. You gotta man up. So the first ones that I purchased were by James Joyce. This is Dubliners. This is a very famous short story collection that he has, and this one is A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man. These are both in the beautiful Penguin Classics Deluxe editions, which just came out. Another Penguin Classics Deluxe edition that I bought was The Picture of Dorian Gray. This cover is stunning. Just look, all of it. It's one of my favorite covers, or well, designs in general. So I've never read this, and now that I have this gorgeous copy, I have to read it as soon as possible. Another beautiful classic that I got, which is actually also a Penguin classic, is Cranford by Elizabeth Gaskell. I have never read this type of Victorian literature, and all the reviews that I've seen of this type of literature, or most of them, have been done by women, by female booktubers. So I would like to know what guys think of it. Next up, I have a collection of essays by James Baldwin. This is called The Fire Next Time. Then I also picked up Absalom, Absalom by William Faulkner, because I've never read Faulkner and I'm sort of curious as to what his style is all about. However, Adam from Memento Mori told me that it's probably better if I start with As I Lay Dying, so that's what I'll do. I also got Fifth Business by Robertson Davis. This is a book that I honestly hadn't really heard anyone talk about until I saw a particular booktuber. I honestly don't remember who it was, and she selected this one as her favorite read of the year. I needed to see what the fuss is all about, and the cover is really creepy. Another modern classic that I got is Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf, which I feel like is something that everyone should read. And the last classic that I have here is A Movable Feast by Ernest Hemingway, which is something that I'm really excited about because I love Paris, and this is like Ernest Hemingway's nonfiction memoir of having lived in Paris. Paris is a city that just creeps under your skin. It really stays with you. He has this beautiful quote that says, "If you're lucky enough to have lived in Paris as a young man, then wherever you go for the rest of your life, it stays with you, for Paris is a movable feast." And I really get that sentiment. I really understand where this is coming from. There are some cities, for example, New York for me is the city that sort of has always stayed with me ever since I first visited, ever since I lived there. Every time that I go there, there's just something that immediately clicks with me. So maybe New York is like my movable feast. So I'm just really excited about this one. What's not to like? The next 5 books that I'm going to show you have all won big literary prizes and awards. This doesn't necessarily mean that I will only read books that have won awards or that I believe that literary awards are like the most important thing in the world, but I do want to read more award winning fiction because I do feel sometimes that I don't read a lot of it. And when I do, just like with classics, I am really illuminated. So, I have the first one was the winner of the Man Booker International Prize. This is A Horse Walks into a Bar by David Grossman. Then I have a Pulitzer Prize winner, Olive Kitteridge by Elizabeth Strout. This one is a novel told in short stories that are all interconnected, which is something that I really like. The next one didn't actually win, but it was longlisted for the Man Booker. And it was one of the best 10 books of the year according to the New York Times Book Review. This is The North Water by Ian McGuire. Then this one didn't really win anything, did it? I don't know. It was nominated for, I think, the Baileys or one of those awards that I don't really remember which one it was. It is one of Oprah's book club picks. This is Ruby by Cynthia Bond. This is a book that everyone talked about last year or 2 years ago, or maybe even 3 years ago. And when a book is this popular and acclaimed, I either buy it immediately or I resist buying it for years until I finally cave in. And now I finally caved in. And then I have another Pulitzer Prize winner. This is The Hours by Michael Cunningham. This is, of course, related or based on, or at least connected to Virginia Woolf's Mrs. Dalloway. So I want to read them together, like back to back, maybe obviously Mrs. Dalloway first and then this one, and then I can go watch the movie The Hours, which I have never seen, and it's another award-winning movie that everyone raves about. So those are all the classics and award winners. Now I'm going to show you random books. This I could not classify in any particular category or genre, so these are just random. This one is Word by Word. The Secret Life of Dictionaries by Corey Stamper. This one was recommended by Britta Bowler. I'm sorry if I butchered your name. She talked about this book so magnificently that I immediately ordered it. And this one says, have you ever tried to define the word is? Do you have strong feelings about the word irregardless? Brimming with intelligence and personality, this vastly entertaining account of how dictionaries are made is a must-read for word mavens. I am one of those really annoying people who are always correcting people when they're speaking. I do it in Spanish, in English. I'm just one of those naggers, and you know what? This is gonna be perfect for me. The next one is a little book, 84 Charing Cross Road by Helen Hanff. This one was recommended by Russell at Ink and Paper. This one is nonfiction. It's like a bunch of correspondence between the author and a used book dealer in London. It sounds really interesting. The next one is a graphic novel, and I never read graphic novels. I don't think I have ever read a graphic novel in my life, but this one is by Philip Pullman, and Philip Pullman is like one of my gods. Everything that he has published or will ever publish will find its way to my personal library. So this is The Adventures of John Blake, The Mystery of the Ghost Ship. I honestly have no idea what this is. I have no clue. I don't even know when I'm gonna read this, but I just saw it and I was like, yeah! Then I have The Post-Birthday World by Lionel Shriver. The premise seems really interesting. It sort of shows different scenarios of what could have happened if a certain event had happened. So it's kind of two different storylines with the same characters, just like different possibilities of two different futures. Now, another author that I read earlier on this year for the first time was Samantha Schweblin. She is an Argentinian author. She wrote Fever Dream, which is one of my favorite books that I've read so far this year. I loved it so much that I started to investigate more about this author, and two of my friends went to Argentina and got me 2 books by her. These are both short story collections, I believe. This one is called Pájaros en la Boca, and this one is Siete Casas Vacías. The next one has a really cool cover. This is If on a Winter's Night a Traveler by Italo Calvino. I hadn't really heard a lot about this one, but then someone recommended it to me. I looked into it, and it just sounds like completely my type of thing. And I'm going to read you the first sentences of the book, which is like an introduction by the author. You are about to begin reading Italo Calvino's new novel. Relax. Concentrate. Dispel every other thought. Let the world around you fade. I think this is a somewhat experimental book about books and stories and storytelling, and it seems really engrossing and quirky and fun, and I love when an author takes all these risks. Then I have The Sparrow by Maria Doria Russell. This one tells the story of a charismatic Jesuit priest and linguist, Emilio Santos, who leads a scientific mission entrusted with a profound task to make first contact with intelligent extraterrestrial life. The next one is Visitation by Jenny Erpenbeck. This one has a very interesting concept. It focuses on a house, like the house where the protagonist, like a living creature. And we sort of follow the history of the house, the history of the people that had inhabited this house in the past. I think it has to do with war, and just the premise, the concept is just really cool. The next one seems kind of kooky, but it sounds amazing. This is Belle Fleur by Joyce Carol Oates. I'm actually going to read you a paragraph from the back because it sounds wow. Belle Fleur traces the lives of several generations of this unusual family. At its center is Gideon Belle Fleur and his imperious, somewhat psychic, very beautiful wife, Leah. Their 3 children, one with frightening psychic abilities, and the servants and relatives, living and dead, who inhabit the mansion and its environs. Their story offers a profound look at the world's changeableness, time and eternity, space and soul, pride and physicality versus love. Belle Fleur is an allegory of Caritas versus Cupiditas, love and selflessness versus pride and selfishness. It is a novel of change, baffling complexity, and mystery. And the cover is so good! This next one also has a beautiful cover. This is The Changeling by Victor Laval. This one first came to my attention thanks to Acacia Ives, who posted a picture of the book on her Instagram. I saw the cover and I was really attracted to it. And then I looked into it and I saw the authors that are praising it. We have Marlon James, Paul Beatty, Kelly Link, Matt Johnson. Kelly Link says, absolutely compelling, completely thrilling. The Changeling overflows with menace, wonder, and beauty. Marlon James, who of course wrote A Brief History of 7 Killings, says, a dark fairy tale of New York, full of magic and loss, myth and mystery, love and madness. This is a mesmerizing, monumental work. And now the moment we've all been waiting for. This is the special book that I told you about at the beginning of the video. This has such an interesting, cool, different, unique design and cover that I don't think I've ever seen before in a book. This is The Musical Brain by Cesar Aira, or Cesar Aira. It just sounds so weird and fancy in English. Cesar Aira is a very acclaimed Argentinian writer. He writes short stories, which are very magical, fabulous, magical realism. So this is something that I really enjoy. I think a lot of people would really enjoy this type of collection. Of course, the original is in Spanish, so I guess I should be reading it in Spanish, but this copy in English is so gorgeous and so unique that I just had to get it in English. I don't care. So just look at the design. It has like the 3D element and it lights up like the neon lights. The book itself is a naked hardback, like a cloth bound with this kind of well, you cannot see the texture, obviously. It's really cool, really pretty and simple, but then boom, baby, it's striking. It's beautiful. I'm just in love with it. Just admit that this is not the coolest thing that you have seen, at least today, at least today. I'll be honest with you, I will probably not read this year because I do have a lot of books that I should read first. However, I'm really looking forward to reading it so that I can review it and show it to you again. It's gorgeous. Guys, that was it. That was my July book haul. It was huge, but I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you wrote down a lot of books for your next TBR. I will see you on the next video.